Welcome to Postkemp Media Group. We're in the Cardinal Nest. I'm Braxton Totten. This is JT Wilson. Today we're here with Coach Gray. He's a teacher and softball coach at Postkemp High School, and we're glad to have him with us today.
So going into the softball season, what were your expectations?
Going back to last January, a couple of expectations I had. One was, of course, win division. Take the division crown. Second expectation was make a deep playoff run. We've never been out of the second round. In my years, this is year 11 total for me here. We've been clipped in the second round numerous times. So that was kind of an expectation for the team. This is one of my better squads I've ever coached here. It was kind of third round or bust. And I thought we were, pretty capable of, competing. And once we made it to the third round, and we did. We competed with Myrtle, and now they're a game away from winning a state championship. But yeah, going back to it, those were kind of my expectations. Capture division, and get beyond the second round.
What are some ways you feel like y'all improved from the previous season?
I think overall we were pretty stellar defensively. That was something in the past couple of years that was kind of a glaring hole to make us a complete team. Is just having a defense that complements our offense. We have had pretty good couple pretty good pitchers this year with Alyssa and Zoe that gave us a chance to compete. But you can, even with a strong pitcher, you got to have a complementary defense, to really assist, with that. So that was something. Another thing, probably the back end of my lineup was pretty solid. Gave us quality at bats. That was something, 6 through 9 in years past that were pretty much strikeout machines. Now they battled. They gave us timely hits. So that was another thing that we definitely improved on.
What were your strategies or practices like to get those things improved?
Going back to January, February, when it's not raining out, of course we're inside a good bit of that time. But, when we're on the field, I try to just stress high tempo, working individual, type drills, toward the end of practice, team drills, and put them in high pressure situations. I'm kind of like my classroom. I tell my students, you got your state test coming, so we're going to practice and until we get to the state test. And class must be tough. Tests must be tough. Notes will be tough. Same with out there on the softball field. Practice must be tough. That way games, become easier. So I've seen that, through the years, and we've had some success with that. Tough practices makes the game slow down a little bit and have some success, in those games, in those division games, playoff games.
I know you just mentioned Alyssa and Zoe. Who are some other key players that led y'all to a successful season this year?
Yeah, going back to those two girls, Alyssa commanded, the circle, pitched very, very well. I think 15 plus wins. Batting average was in the upper 500s. So, really, really good. Zoe, good stick, played second base quite well. But you got to mention Charlie Holmes, behind the plate. She was, part of that 1-2 battery. You got your pitcher, you got your catcher. You got to have a strong catcher when your pitcher's pretty good. And Charlie, handled that well. She also batted, in the upper 500s. So, that was clutch for us. Another individual, Carson Bennett, held her own at shortstop, lead off throughout the entire season. Hit the ball well, but played complementary defense. Stellar D. And one last one is Harlan Stevens. Played and hit the ball well. Struggled last year, but this year, most definitely improved it offensively. So gave us a chance to put up some pretty good offensive numbers.
I'm sure y'all had maybe some losses that hurt. How did you keep your team motivated during those losses?
Yeah, we were lucky. I think we had 4 losses total throughout the entire season, and those came from 2 schools, Myrtle and Hatley. But going into the next practice the next day is just going back and, kind of discussing, all right, ladies, what went wrong? How can we improve, from that? Was it our approach to the plate? Did we commit errors, in the field? Try to just go back to the lab, kind of iron things out, smooth things out, and just be encouraging, be motivating, as me as a coach, try to motivate, and just not kind of tell them it's the end of the world. No, it's not. It's one game at a time. It's one at bat at a time. It's one defensive play at a time. So that's what's special about the game of baseball, softball, is you got to really just kind of embrace it, embrace the failure, because there's a lot of failure to it. So it's kind of some of the things I would do.
I know you just mentioned Carson and Charlie, and they're seniors. So what kind of impact do you feel that's going to have on your team next year?
Oh gosh, losing my seniors that I've coached for 5-6 years, huge. I teared up that last game. And they were great athletes. Those two, Miley, Lexi, Alexis, but they're just great kids, in general. And just missing that, of course, they perform well, but just missing their camaraderie is huge. And, that's just something that come next school year is going to be a process, to find kids to replace those, glaring holes, because missing a catcher, missing a shortstop, missing 2 pillars of the outfield, they got to be replaced. So it's going to be a process of finding players to fill those roles. And now it's up to my, I don't have any juniors this year, so it's up to my sophomores, future juniors, to step up and, fill those roles that Charlie and Carson had for the past 3 years, for me. So,
Did you have a game that stuck out to you that you wish you could change or alter to make it become a better thing?
Yeah, going back, it was probably 1st of February or mid-February. It was cold. It was super cold at night, and traveling back to my alma mater of Hatley, I felt like we had a comfortable lead. We're going into the 7th inning or last inning, 5-run lead, 2 outs. And then the wheels fell off. Committed a couple of errors, a couple of walks, maybe a hit by pitch. They ended up tying it in the bottom of the 7th, and by the bottom of the 8th, they walked us off by 1 run. And coming back, I went back and coached there. I've graduated from there. I really wanted that game, for reasons, various reasons. So I'll think about that. But again, they were a solid ball club, and competing with them, having that lead against them, I left that game, yes, upset, but also know that we competed, and we competed quite well that night. We didn't close the deal. We didn't finish the game like we should have.
What's some expectations or goals you have for next season?
It's going to be tough to match the win total and the playoff making to the 3rd round next year. Is it doable? Absolutely. But it's going to take some kids to really step up, and it's going to be some kids that didn't get a much playing time this year. Will have to fill, roles next year and have to, produce offensively. We'll have to, play positions that maybe they're not accustomed to. Another thing is we need players. So we're down to about 8 girls. So I'm going to use this as a recruiting tool to hopefully get some players, and hopefully when we have our tryout, we have a few future 7th graders and kids that maybe didn't play this year. Maybe there's some interest. Maybe we can build something from the team that we have to add to the team, and we have fun. I love it. This is kind of, I've coached for 15 years now, and taught for 15 years now, and I try to create a climate that's fun, and of course winning's fun, and we did a little bit of that this year, but that's something for next year is mainly hopefully we are able to field a team. So yep.
Well, I think that's all we have for you today. Thank you for coming on and joining us today.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Make sure you like and subscribe so you not miss out on the next episode.